Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. A few notes here. First of all, I'm in front of an audience, so I've got to brag a little bit on Stigler Schools. We've had just a very, very good opening few days. When you're the superintendent, the first day of school, you sit in your office and wait till the last bus returns to see if you're going to get that phone call to say, I ran my complete route, I made all my stops, but there's still people left on my bus. What do I do? And so we did that. Things went real well. We did not have any students left over. And what's even worse than that is when you get the call from the parent that says, I was at the bus stop and my student didn't get off. Where is he or she? And you have to say, well, let's wait until they all the buses get in, because I bet there's someone riding the full route of another bus, and we'll get them there as soon as we can. And so that went real well. We had an outstanding first 2 days. And over the summer, the State Department of Education awarded it goes to the central office, but it's really all of the office personnel in all of the buildings received awards from the State Department of Education for excellence in financial accounting. And reporting. What they do is they keep a record of I guess they keep a scorecard of all of your reports and all of your information that you're supposed to submit to them. And you get pluses if it's right, you get minus if you have to resubmit it. And they do it for every state. We were in the mid-sized school category, which is every school in the state of Oklahoma, from 999 students to 4,999 students. And we scored the highest in the state, and we were really proud of that. So, and as I told the board, we need to thank everyone in all of those offices that work there that their name is not Monty, because Monty had very little to do with that, but it was still a great thing, and we were really proud. I had an office manager from Pensacola that stopped me at the conference that we got our award. She said, I've been trying for 40 years to get that award, and she was a great lady. That I worked with her for 3 years, but it was really an honor. And then we received notice about 3 weeks ago, you probably saw it in the paper, that our high school was recognized by the U.S. News and World Report as one of the 66 high schools in the state of Oklahoma to receive the bronze medal in how you did on your state assessments in math and reading. And there's, I think, a little under 500 high schools total in the state of Oklahoma. And so you do the math, and we're in the top 14% on the assessments. So I was very proud of our high school for what they're doing there. So just a little bit. I know that's probably not what you all came to hear about. I've never seen myself as a person to attract a crowd. So these chamber meetings are kind of starting to make me nervous. But where do we begin? I tried to make everyone happy. I lost my ticket. But last night, in an effort to please everyone, I bought a lottery ticket. I did not hit the Powerball. Okay? As a matter of fact, 5 lottery tickets. And of the 5 lottery tickets that I bought, not, what is there, 25 or 30 numbers, I don't know. But anyway, not one of my 25 or 30 numbers matched up with a single number that was actually selected. So I decided that's not going to work for us either. So where do we come this? I'll tell you right now, straight up, I mean, I've known a lot of you all for a long time. The one hesitation in applying for the superintendent's job at Stigler Public Schools was the fact that I knew whoever took this job was going to have to face this challenge of what we're going to do at Stigler Elementary. And it's frustrating to me as a person that has spent, my family moved here in 1970. So do the math. When I'm only 40 years old, I'm a little older than that. I have great pride in this community. When I was at other schools and I went to certain functions where there were large administrators, numbers of administrators, the perception was Stigler will not support a bond issue. And that irritated me because I came from a community that in my heart, this community has always met my needs. I can't think of anything that I've done as far as when I was in school. I played all the sports. I showed cattle. I did all of those things. I realized how smart my dad was when Brett and I both went to college. He sold all the cattle. He had a pretty good plan going there. And but anyway, that bothered me, and it still bothers me because I know that this is a community that supports the school. So to go on, we started with some site planning committees my first year here. It was, as you might expect, we did them at different sites, and the focus of those committees at the different sites went in totally different directions. At the high school and the middle school, the focus was on communication with the parents. Y'all explain it to me. You can give a first grader a note, tell them to put that in their backpack and take it home to their mom, and 97% of those will get there. You can chain it to a senior, and it has absolutely no chance of getting home to mom. So as we talked about that, we implemented a school messenger system. And if parents want to be informed of the things that are going on at school, they can get an instant text. We also implemented the back to school night. I was one that really wanted that because I felt that it's important for parents to meet teachers before there became a conflict or any source of friction. Develop that relationship on a neutral basis is a much better way to develop communication between the parent and the teacher. The elementary, however, the other thing that we came out of that was with the state budget cuts and everything, which, by the way, in case me worrying about speaking here wasn't enough today, our check that we got from the state this morning to operate on this month was $49,000 less than it was supposed to be, with no explanation. So it's fun right now in education, but we, with all the budget cuts and everything, we had done away with our art program. And even in the midst of all the budget cuts and everything else, because it was a consensus that there are many, many students that need that extracurricular activity or that interest class to hold them into school, to finish their education, to give them at least, and some of you may not have felt this way going through school, but there are some kids, they need at least 1 hour that they enjoy through the day. And we're doing everything we can to increase those offerings in a time that there's really not much state funding. At the elementary school, however, there was much more concern on facilities. We came up with a list of priorities. Wanted to replace the portable buildings with permanent structures. Construct safe rooms at each site, which we still haven't gotten to. Construct a new elementary. There's a group that would like to have a cafeteria at the high school, and then we have been working desperately on fixing all the leaks at the middle school, and we've made huge progress. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that they're all gone. I didn't walk through them this morning. But we've made a lot of progress on that, and we continue to work on that. We also had some issues of bringing the high school gym up to handicap accessibility standards, as well as the football stadium was not even close to those ADA standards. And then when we started looking at that with people who do that for a living, not only were there ADA issues, the safety issues were phenomenal. Things that I hadn't thought of, they were certain to point them out for me. So back to number one, we got 9 portable classrooms at the present elementary site, 3 at the kindergarten, a portable building for a cafeteria at the kindergarten, and 1 portable building that we're using at the 5th grade right now. Here's kind of the layout, and I've asked Miss Mayhall to kind of, people, you have to understand that a day at the elementary is pretty closely choreographed day, okay? We've got 2 computer labs and a music room, and for us to get as much time as we can, as one group's leaving, the other group's got to be going, and we got to get them there and get them back. And I was just going to let Miss Mayhall talk for a few minutes on how that works and the actual scheduling of the facilities that we have at the elementary. So Miss Mayhall, she's our elementary principal, and she's doing a great job, and I'm very proud of her.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and he's definitely the one to do all the numbers and give you the stats. So I'm more on the kids, and you guys forgive me because I am used to a crowd, but they're usually not this big. So if I get a little emotional, please look over that, because for me it is an emotional subject. I'm going to start though just on the scheduling, and I have copies for everyone on our daily schedule that we go by, but then I had to include in your packet, this is just one example of one pull-out program. This is one teacher's resource schedule. So just to give you an example of that, that will be in your packet as well. In addition to the regular schedule, we also have to schedule speech classes, special education classes, therapy for OT and PT, and library visits, and our reading resource lab. So he said minutes. Our lunch schedule goes 2 minutes. 2 minutes between trying to get the kids that were in from the computer lab lunchtime in, so we can clean it and get ready for the next set in the afternoon. Since our cafeteria doubles as a gym and a cafeteria, then we have to schedule our classes according to that, which means someone every year, one grade level, which is 100 kids, has to take their PE time in the morning, which, if you know much research on that, is not even supposed to happen at any time, because that's their optimal learning time. So they're spending their time in the morning because we can't get them all in there in the afternoon, because we're in the cafeteria eating and cleaning. So that's a major issue as well. If you look at, this is of course the main building.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. You look, Miss Rhoda Johnson's class is right here. So her kids, when it's time for music, the days they go to music, they walk 2 blocks to get to music over here. Almost 2 blocks. So even with that, she's in, this area here is not covered at all. So she's out in the weather, she can walk the main building to here. So she being the furthest away from our furthest lab, you're looking at, close to 2 blocks. So with that being said, we spend about 30 to 40 minutes a day transitioning from class to class. Specials, lunch, computer lab, music, and library. And that's for every grade level. So each grade level is losing 30 to 40 minutes of instruction each day. In the transitions, this is our cafeteria, and again, we have to schedule the lunches. Each teacher comes with a 2-minute interval. So you're not late.
What time do we start with lunch?
We start at 11 o'clock with first grade, and we go every 2 minutes, And then second grade begins at 11:10. We go every 2 minutes, and then we let those two classes finish.
If we had the kindergarten there, what time would we have to start?
Well, we'd be really out of compliance with the State Department because you have to have that certain amount of time between their breakfast and their lunch. So we can't start before 11 and be in compliance with the State Department. So that's where we get in again to all these scheduling conflicts. So at kindergarten, we're here with one cafeteria. Well, I don't even know about that right now. It'd be tough because we couldn't do it and be in compliance. Time on task for teaching and learning. That's what we're here for. I mean, that's what they come to school to do. So to think that they're missing 30 and 40 minutes of that time that's crucial to me. And it's crucial to them because it does make a difference. I know, the weather part, that's huge concern. I can't imagine, if we had a tornado, what would really happen. So, we do the best we can. We try to get them in a permanent structure. I know the day that the wind took the top off of Stop Shop number 2, my kindergarten students were transitioning that day from PE and music, and I watched that radar. I have that weather radar in my office that goes off, and there's no warnings, nothing. So I'm watching the lightning thing, there's no warnings. And my kindergartners were in transition when that storm formed and came over Stigler, and it was pretty traumatic for them and the teachers. It took them quite a while. They spent the rest of the afternoon trying to get settled down, because by the time I called them and said, look, I see this cloud, they're not saying, and they said, we're on our way. So they go to that main structure when that happens. The other thing that, this area is not the safest neighborhood. I look back, and I'm going to do a better job, but I look back, I think I called Richard Dixon 22 times last year to come, because we would have people stalking or just driving this area or walking, lots of foot traffic in this area. A couple of times it was pretty serious, and we had to go on. I didn't put a full down lockdown, but the teachers knew from their email they couldn't go to recess because we had a dad that was trying to wait to talk to his son that was not allowed to do that. And so there's a fence here, but it's a fence, and so we have a lot of problem with that. If there were someone on campus with a gun, these teachers right here, if I called a lockdown and the shooter's somewhere in here, I probably wouldn't know. They have to put their heads out that door to lock it, because fire code won't let us lock it from the inside. So, that's concern for me. And I think about these scenarios all the time. We had a member of Homeland Security here on Monday, the day the teachers came back on the 7th. And we said, look, we're trying. We have these plans in place. What else can we do? And he just walked around and kind of shook his head at us, and gave us the pointers that we're going to put in place. But he said, you're doing all you can, because there's only so much you can do with this much access. So we continue to try to make that happen. And again, these are fences. The new building layout, you'll see in a minute if you haven't, shows the building the way it's winged out. The playgrounds would be in the middle of those wings, and there would be no traffic, there would be no road around, no access to the children unless someone was actually walking around the building to the playground. So even from the road, they wouldn't really even be able to see the students because they will be in between the buildings playing. So that, just on a security thing, that's a pretty important part for me every day. So you will also get a list in your packet that tells, there were some questions about why do we need that much room. So obviously that's a valid question. I don't know if you've been to the elementary lately, but we have a lot going on. And I don't know if you've read the latest legislation and the latest laws that we have to go by. but kids are a lot are expected of them now to be performing on a certain level, to be ready for the next level, state testing. It starts in first grade, really it starts in kindergarten, but we really try to make that time on task the very best that we can for the kids, because we want every opportunity for them to succeed. So with that being said, there are 25 regular education classrooms, K through 4. 10 of these are currently in portable buildings. That includes the kindergarten. 2 speech rooms, 4 special education classrooms. We also must provide a place for occupational and physical therapy when they come. 1 reading resource classroom, 1 computer lab that doubles for reading and math. One side of the portable, right here, this portable, one side we have a reading lab, the other side we have a math lab.
But it would be set up for 2 classrooms.
Yes.
It's 2 classrooms
It's 2
that share
classrooms.
one building. Yeah.
Yes. 1 library, which is the only resource room we have that's in the main building. A cafeteria that doubles as a gym, and then the kindergarten cafeteria that's a portable building. The special education classrooms are all in the main building, and that is because the State Department says you cannot have them outside the main building. They may not be separated from the general population. So, all of our special ed classrooms are in this building. So that puts all of our, the other grade levels, less of them. I actually only have 8 main, second and part of third grade in the main building. All of this wing is special education, and part right here in the front are the speech classes. So that's, we have codes we have to go by. We really don't get to pick and choose on a lot of this. We make that the best that we can. This building right here, literally, this is our multi-handicap. I don't know how old that building is, but it's in bad shape. We do the best we can. We've replaced plumbing, fixing leaks, roof, all of that, but multi-handicap is there. And
it was my music room. Y'all remember square dancing yeah.
The only reason that we are allowed to have our multi here and not in the main building is because we must provide them a showering facility there. So they let us buy because of that, because we do have a shower and washer and dryer in that room, because it's very needed. So that's the only reason they come and they do an assessment of that, so that we're sure we're up to codes with that. And again, real quick, because I know there's a lot. This is one of my embarrassing moments. When we have visiting counselors, we have a lot from home-based services, Creoaks, DHS, and they come and they see our kids that are in need. I have no place to put them. So if I'm busy in my office, which is where I normally put them, we have a closet that they go in. So that's where they go to visit with kids who are having a hard time or needing some extra, that's kind of tough. But they're great. They work with it and they do well, but if my office is unavailable, they go to the closet. So anyway, that's tough. One thing, kindergarten started yesterday, so they already know this. And you can go and you can ask K through 4, any kid right now. Ask them, what's Miss Mayhall's #1 job? And they will say, I guarantee you, they will say, to keep me safe. That is what they will tell you. Not with because that's what I tell them, and that is my job. So with that being said, it's tough to know that in a sense, I don't have been totally protected, and I know I live in this fallen world, and I know there's no 100%, but I do know we can do better. I know that I can stand before them and tell them that, knowing we can do better. So, with that being said, I just appreciate your time and everybody taking the time to look at things and to listen, and I'll have the packets ready at the end before they leave.
I also realize that there's 2 ways to get everybody's emotions on tilt. Okay? Talk about their money or their kids. And it just so happens a good bond issue affects both. So I understand that. So as we move forward, I'm going to ask that no one, questions or whatever, use the word all, because that doesn't apply to any group in the world. There is no everyone, and there are no always. Okay, because those are terms that prevent people working together. Those are stop signs. Okay, I don't like this. Okay, I understand the whole picture, but I also understand the need. And I don't know about you all, but there's about 2 things in my job that I really don't like, and this would rank at number 1. I'm not on a bonus if I get a bond issue passed. If this passes, it will double my workload, and we will not hire another person to work in the superintendent's office. I have nothing whatsoever personally to gain. So I'm just throwing that out there. Why am I here? Because it's needed. In the layout of the new campus that we have proposed, and I'm going to tell you some areas that we're spending more money than we would absolutely have to. Okay? I'm going to try to point those out. Number 1 is going to be on roads, driveways, okay? Because we have established a drop-off lane to try to do our best to get as many cars as possible off of the public streets during those rush times. If we do a single drop-off lane, then we can get about 38 cars off the street at one time. If we do a double, I wouldn't stack them to do 76, but we could do over 60. That would require some extra manpower to direct traffic and to make sure that the kids are walking in certain areas so that as cars are pulling in and out, everyone's safe. So I'll just tell you right up front, we're going to try it with 1 lane. The other thing we've done is we've moved the bus drop-off to come off of Perry Road. And we would take that as far as it fits. We're not going to go out of the way. But that way it will help relieve some of the traffic on Perry Road, and people won't be backed up on the high school and middle school drop-offs waiting for the bus to make the turn to come down Panther Lane. So there's extra money that we're spending to try to alleviate transportation issues throughout other parts of the town. The other thing is, as Ms. Mayhaw was talking about, is we are trying to get our playgrounds in an area to minimize the possibility of a drive-by shooting. And y'all look at me like I'm crazy. Okay, you can look at me like that doesn't happen in Stigler, but I have to go to meetings and I hear these people that have lived through one of these things. If you think it can't happen here, you go ahead. But if we have to sit, and let me tell you, all of these things end up in the courtroom. And if I sit on the courtroom, on the witness stand, that attorney's going to be right here, and he's going to make sure that that family's right behind him. And he's going to say, Mr. Guthrie, had you ever thought about this happening? And had you done everything you possibly could to prevent it? Okay? After September 12th, I'm going to be able to answer yes. You can vote how you want. But after September 12th, I get to vote yes on that. I don't even like to talk security. Because there's so many holes in it, anybody could pick it apart. But it's serious, and it's the real world we live in. And if you need to get your head out of the sand, do it now. We're trying to protect our kids right here. We're trying to protect our kids over here so that they're not walking through moving traffic to get to the bus. And if I get a little emotional, I'm okay with that. Because let me tell you something. If you want to really see me emotional, come down and let me work with a kid that needs help. I'll show you some real emotion for that. I'm totally lost on where I was going. This side back here would be the early childhood. And this is a developing project. There's a good chance this area right here, if we can afford to do some blockade type stuff right there, that could be a playground just for kindergarten. Best case scenario is kindergarten could go here, first and second could go here, third and fourth we're going to have to expand a little bit, and we're going to have to do some fencing and some blockades, but we're a substantial distance from the road. We can make it much more safer than we currently have, and keep the age separation, which is really important. 3 years at the elementary level is huge. Parent traffic, secure entrances, and another area we overbuilt. We're going to overbuild, or hopefully overbuild, however if y'all are positive thinkers. I'm not trying to send any subliminal messages, I promise. The cafeteria will double as a safe room. Okay? A safe room is going to run between $180 and $190 per square foot. And it's 8,000 feet of safe room. We don't need that much just for the elementary. The reason we chose the cafeteria to build the safe room is if you do it in classrooms, you have to account for desks. There is nothing in a school that's meant to move in a hurry except cafeteria tables. So after hours, if the sirens go off, we have 8,000 square foot. We can put up to 1,200 people, Stigler residents, in a safe room. And typically all the cafeteria tables are up after lunch anyway, but let's just say 2 people were absent that day that work in the cafeteria. Y'all may not have problems like that at your offices and businesses, but we sometimes do. Okay, let's just say they didn't get them up that day. In a matter of minutes, everything can be up and put away, and we can have enough room for basically the south side of Stigler to go to a safe room. We're going to enter, we'll have a separate entrance right here so that you don't have to go all the way through the hallways and classrooms and things like that to get to the safe room. So, like I said, we overbuilt there a little bit. I don't know, there's differing of opinion here, but a school that has 1,400 kids in it and 2 usable gymnasiums, and we want to talk about fit and healthy kids, let's be real. Who wants to teach PE in a classroom? Any volunteers? I've been in a school that they had to do that. Guess how much noise vibrates down the hallway of that wing? Don't go tell your PE class to be quiet. Okay. If they're making noise in PE, they're having fun. They're exercising. That's what it's about. So we need a gym. Along with this gym, there will be seating between 350 and 400 people. Okay. There are also, if you've ever attended an elementary program, then you've noticed the great stage, sound system, and seating that we have so that you can watch your child or grandchild perform to their optimal performance. Okay, you can't see anything and you can barely hear anything. So I just ask that if we were going to do this, let's put a stage on it so that we can have real programs and we can watch our kids as they grow and we can watch our kids as they perform. I'm all off my notes, so here's the front view. When you talk about cost, you can always put out bids with alternatives, okay? So, you go rock and brick on the front. We can put out one bid that has rock and brick all the way around. And then we can put out an alternative that it's wainscot on the back side instead of rock and brick all the way up. Or only metal on the back side all the way up. To give us some options to make sure we stay in budget, number one. And number two, the thing that I've talked with the financial advisors about and the architect about is whatever we promise, however you have to figure your numbers, we must give the people what they voted on. Okay. So don't fudge low. We're not going to play that. There's a lot of schools out there that promise the moon, and then after it's passed, oh, we can only afford half of that. That's not the way any of these numbers are calculated. These numbers are calculated to be certain we can give the voters what they approve. One little neat thing, and you can't see it on this. You can see it a little better on the board over there if you want. Right here in the entryway, I talked with the architect, and it was important to me as an educator and an old history teacher to incorporate some of the history of Haskell County and Stigler into the decor and the architecture of the new building. So I went to the Historical Society and I took some pictures of the railroads that most of these kids don't even have a clue that the railroad industry was a significant part of the Stigler economy at one time. And we took pictures of the coal mines and how it was such a thriving coal mine community at one time, and of the agriculture. I mean, everyone knows we raise a lot of cattle, but people don't know that at one time we raised a lot of crops as well. And you know, the bottom land that we have here some of it still is, but it was really productive. And so all through this wall on the entryway, and it's not, the cost is not that significant. We've got those photographs to help to instill the history of our town and community into the kids at an early age. If you're not into education, you're going to think that's pretty stupid. But that's okay. I'm good with that. But for old educators and people that I want our kids to know what the roots are. And it's that work ethic and those things that's made this community what it is, and they need to be aware of that. Here's another overall layout. Here's the cars to scale and the buses to scale. And on this I have 38 to 40 classrooms. That's another one of those alternatives. It costs about $100,000 per classroom. Classroom is typically figured at 30 by 26. 30 feet by 26 feet. And then there would be the hallway. So as we start getting our first projections in, and I don't know if you all have ever projected building costs on a building that you're going to complete in 2.5 years from when you start doing projections, but it is a very difficult task to try to estimate what the cost of metal is going to be when it's actually time to order it. So that's why I put 38 to 40. If we need to shave $200,000 off of there, we could cut 2 classrooms. One of the big things that irritate me at the elementary when I go over there is the lounge and the workroom is the same room, and it's not big enough to do either one. So you can make a teacher workroom that if we needed another classroom, we could just move the teacher work area out of that and we've got another classroom without building anything. But if you only plan for what you have right now, then what if you grow? We sent a class to the high school, the 9th grade this year. It was a huge class. There's a good chance another one of those will come along. Trust me, another ice storm will come and we'll have a really big class, all right? What we're trying to do, Panther Stadium, and this is all tied back to those site planning committee recommendations. 1969 model, we needed to make it handicap accessible. Another kind of thing of me going back to that courtroom, had one of those seats right there buckled when someone walked across it and they broke their leg. And the attorney said, looked me in the eye and said, had you ever noticed how much those gave when people walked across them? I'm not going to say no because I had. And if I say yes, then the school is totally liable for that injury. So along with making it handicap accessible, we replaced the seating. Turned out really nice. Cost about $208,000. We couldn't build a new high school cafeteria, but we can keep the food warm and we can do a better job preparing it. First thing we have to do is actually buy good equipment that will do that purpose. Just so happened, we did a really, really good job managing our cafeteria, our child nutrition fund this year, and we had enough money to pay for this that if we didn't spend it, we were going to be penalized because we had too much money in our child nutrition account. So we had to spend it. We spent it on something that's going to provide a really good service, and if everything goes as planned at this second, and I don't know if anyone at the high school knows it yet, they might, but the 25th of this month, because I don't know how many, the high school, over the things that we've done in the last 2 years, the first year, every student at elementary gets to eat free. This summer, we completed the application through the community eligibility program so that every student at the middle school gets to eat free. So the only students we have that are having to pay for a lunch or a breakfast is high school. So we're trying to be more accommodating to those students. So August 25th, we worked in an agreement with our local Pizza Hut, and we will actually serve Pizza Hut pizza in the Stigler High School cafeteria to all the students. I'm pretty proud about that. For some reason, they don't like the frozen pizzas as well. Unless they're at home, and then they'll eat them all the time. So anyway, a little history. Stigler bond issues. We have really, really good facilities for the amount of money that we've invested in them. I don't want to think where we would be without the fire at the high school. And I'm certainly not suggesting that we need one at the elementary. So get all those things out of your mind, okay? But 1979, along with the insurance money from the fire, we constructed the high school in '88. We passed a bond for $600,000 for the gym. In '94, we passed one for $860,000 for additional classrooms at the high school and the middle school. The last bond went off the books in 2004. It's been 13 years since there's been a property tax levy for school facilities in Stigler School District. In that period of time, out of the school building fund, we have spent just under $1.5 million paying for portable buildings. How do we compare with those around us? There it is. If this bond passes, where will we be? Right below Kyoto. Okay? There are people that are investing in school facilities around us. $17.45 mils relates to a 22.5% property tax increase. Our bonding capacity for a general obligation bond is $3 million. If you can do a general obligation bond, then you sell it as a $3 million bond, and they run all the numbers and interest and everything added in there, but you can run it as a $3 million bond, and it sounds a whole lot cheaper. We cannot address our needs with $3 million. I put a plan out there that would have met, I'm going to say, 60 or 70% of our needs. And I spent time trying to convince people that that is the way to go. As a matter of fact, at the first meeting, I didn't tell my mother anything about it. And so after the meeting, I went to her house and I said, what do you think? Which way did you vote? And she said, well, I voted for the cheap one because I thought that's what you wanted everybody to do. But I want a new elementary. So I accomplished, I guess, what I was trying to do, but she can still set me straight when she needs to. Now, variables, okay? If you go to a series bond, that means it's going to be and then when we get really, really into this, the first meeting we had, I had our financial advisor come to it because I wanted every intricate, however you say that word with a dry mouth, question answered by a financial advisor. I am not one. If there are questions that you really want to go over every fine detail of how a series bond works, I will have him come back down here. But in the simplest form. Okay? The simplest form. It is a lease purchase. And I'm telling you, that's way oversimplifying. Somebody's got to come up with the money to construct this entire thing and then sell bonds in series to make those payments. If you're buying a $200,000 house and you're going to finance it for 21 years, the realtor is not going to sell you that house based on the sales price of purchase price, fees, points, and interest for 21 years. He's going to say it's a $200,000 house, and then you're going to go to the bank or wherever you're going to go, and you'll find out what that is, okay? The way this is set up, this $15 million is totally inclusive of all of that. I played with the mortgage loan calculator last night, and according to these projections, it's going to, and I'm pleading, let's turn that camera off. I'm not a financial person, but it came out with all the fees and everything, because every time you sell a bond, there's a fee related to it. Okay, but it came out to about 4.5% total cost for financing on interest. But again, if we really want to get in, if anyone wants to get into all the fine details of the hours and hours of legal red tape on series bonds, I will ask our representative to come down here.
What's the firm's name?
McDonald and Associates.
Please set that meeting.
Okay. J.C. Leonard is our representative. They do more schools than anyone I know in the state of Oklahoma. Neighboring communities. Y'all, you can either accept the fact that we're competing for new residents, or you can deny it. Okay, that's up to you. I personally think that there is competition. I didn't hire the Burns Group. This organization hired the Burns Group. They said, we're competing for people in industry. And they said, one of the key issues that come up when you're competing for people, schools and their facilities. They also said that our schools were recognized very good in education. We needed to up the facilities. That's not my people. I guess I'm a member of this organization, but that came from here. Shakota, new high school, new gym. Eufaula, brand new elementary and middle school. It is very impressive if you haven't been out there to look at it. Gore. Panama. New elementary, and then they've just constructed this brand new activity center. Quentin. Roland. Not as much. They did a little over $1 million project, added not very many classrooms, and just made things look better because they're competing for students. And then Sallisaw. Sallisaw built a new middle school. It's really nice. They added a full-size gym with, I'm not sure what the seating capacity is, but when they held their basketball tournament last year, they could play high school ball games in both gyms. And Wilburton. Theirs is just completed. And I put those two at the end because those are the two that I have the most current information on building costs with. Ours is not as extravagant as Sallisaw's. They built theirs for $130 a square foot. Wilburton is just finishing theirs, and they're at $115 per square foot without change orders. So they haven't completely finished all of the change orders. They're still fighting over who's going to pay for a few change orders. But in ours, we have projected it at about $130 a square foot, and we've used the closest comparative projects that we can find in this area to come up with those numbers. If I didn't think it was a need, I would not put myself through some of this. Probably really the only frustrating part to me on this whole deal is I understand that the way the ballot is worded, it doesn't come out and say you're going to build a school that has so many square feet and it's set up in a particular way and all that. The Attorney General and the financial advisors set the ballot. I did ask them to include the safe room in that because I didn't want any questions about it. But it says to build, equip, and furnish entry and safe room, and then some more legal jargon if you want. This website or this PowerPoint and a copy of the proposition will be posted on our website by Tuesday. I have a funeral tomorrow, so I'm not going to commit to getting that done tomorrow. but it will be on our website by Tuesday if anyone wants to download it or look at it. So with that being said, any questions? Yes.
So talking about it is, I've seen it, lived in a bunch of different areas and stuff like that, talking about kids, schools, drawing people in. I drove over an hour away, my work, just so my kids could go to the highest rated school in that area. So I'm with you on that, Mr. Guthrie. I agree with you. On the safe room part, stuff like that, kids and shootings and things like that, where are y'all looking to build the doors out of? Are y'all looking to make heavy set doors? Will they be able to lock from the inside?
And the trap entries and
All that good stuff.
right now at the elementary, we do have the door where you can let them in. Now,
I'm saying if somebody
we-
does get in,
yeah, and
you got a plan for that.
yeah, we went through this, and then we went through our assessment a week ago Monday to make some further changes to make it much more secure.
I'm talking about for that, if it does get
Yes,
approved.
yes.
What are y'all looking at making the doors out of?
We're working with Homeland Security.
Okay.
Yeah, he was here, like I said, he was here a week from Monday. And he's gonna sit down with the architect and go over all of the entries and everything that goes along with that. That's why I wanted him here.
And our school could be locked down in a matter of seconds, everything. If they're in the gym, if they're in computer lab, matter of seconds, everybody is locked in.
About one. Any other questions?
Did y'all acquire the land that was going to be north of the grade school now? Wasn't that?
Yes, there's a half a block that is, it was, I cannot tell you when it was acquired, I haven't looked at that.
If this new bond issue passes, what is going to happen to the old school?
I cannot answer that question. I would like the cafeteria gymnasium part, I would like to see that go into a boys or girls club. It's right there by the Little League, it's centrally located, it's in town, there's a lot of foot traffic, it's an area where young kids could walk to it. And I would like to see that. The other part, I mean, we're in the planning stages here, we've got two and a half years to go from there, so to be looking at marketing that and selling that, and I mean, that's the board decision, we haven't gotten that far. I would, don't get me fired out here, I'd love to see all of that sold and used to build the safe rooms at the other two sites. That's what I would love to see happen, but we're not there, you know. And it's hard to start marketing anything when, as it stands right now, that's our home. Yeah.
I started grade school in that old building 71 years ago. I think it's time for a new school.
Hey, I'm gonna, stand up just a second, we're gonna take a vote. Okay.
They keep picking on lawyers out there.
Yeah. Who thinks Jim is aging better, and who thinks the grade school's aging better?
Ronnie,
Yeah.
as an educator, naturally, probably everybody would know how to believe, but I sat in a meeting one time, and they made the comment of what was the most important thing that people look at when they're thinking about moving to a town. And I strongly disagreed with what they thought was most important. I won't say what it was, but it is a school. It is a school. And as a grandma now with an 11-year-old grandson in Broken Arrow, it's a different world than Stigler, but it is a school. And if new people, every time I've lived a block from that grade school for 17 years of my life, and the people that are coming here now and think about moving here, and they say, oh, where are we going to take our kids to school? And they show them that, and that neighborhood. I'm so glad Lana mentioned that neighborhood. That crummy trailer house across the street, some of that neighborhood down there, I'm so glad she mentioned that. And then as far as the quality of the education in the building, they are fine teachers. They are great teachers. And I think it needs to be done not only for the kids, but for your teachers also, and for your administrators. Naturally, I would be for them. Naturally, I would. But this town, the cost, I know, is unreal, especially after everything has been passed, sales tax and everything. I know it's high, I know that. But this thing, I feel like, is the first thing that someone's gonna look at when they wanna move to Stigler. And if we want things to move into Stigler, I think it is one thing that's going to have to be done. That's my personal opinion. And I had someone tell me one time in my kitchen, I said, why are you worried about what I think? They said, well, people listen to you. Well, I'm stating here at an important meeting, this is where I stand. It is needed. It is needed in this town.
But it worries me about education. It worries me about education when a retired English teacher doesn't know the difference between questions and comments.
I had to make a comment.
Anything else? I've taken a lot of your time. I
just want to
appreciate it.
reinforce what he mentioned the Burns group, but when we had a meeting that over 100 people attended, where Linda and Don Burns presented the results of their package to come together, and they identified 5 needs that Stigler needed to happen before we could grow economically as far as their economic package went. And within the top 3 was a new school. They identified 5, but a hospital, an infrastructure. Bobby's already pestered the Department of Transportation until we've got our highway rehab 2 years ahead of schedule. So that one we can check off the list, but that was one of them. And then I also saw a comment on Facebook that someone had said, well, I have never heard that a condition of the school would apply to someone's education. What difference does it make what condition the school is in? Because that doesn't measure their education. According to the Burns group, for every portable in that child that is in a portable building, if you get them out of that portable building, their test scores will increase by 11 to 15%. So it does make a difference what kind of building they're being educated in. And that's my comment.
I have some cards. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Do you have a projected amortization schedule for these bonds?
Yes, I do not have it with me, but I'll give it to you.
And is there a cost of operation projection in time?
Cost of operation projection. Our projection is when we get everybody under one roof, the cost of operation is going to go down.
Okay, do you have anything to back that
No,
up?
but I.
Okay. Because how many square feet do you have now?
I don't know. We're operating in classrooms and in mobile.
Well, let me make it all.
Trailer
What
house.
I'm wondering is how much is it going to cost to operate this?
So you're worried about our ability to
I'm worried
operate
about
this
having the
school?
funds to
Okay.
pay for the cost of operating.
We, in the time of financial distress in Oklahoma, in the last 2 years, Stigler Public Schools cash forward has gone up $439,000. We have a real grasp on what we can afford and what we can't afford.
I just want to know how much it's going to
Okay.
cost to operate. We made this mistake
Uh,
in the past with the jail. We're very close to it. We don't want to see this happen again, and we're just being cautious. And there was questions asked, and we never got answers earlier in the jail situation.
Okay.
We're going to have them now. And, nobody knew that it's going to cost $600,000 to $700,000 a year to operate that facility. Nobody knew how much it's going to cost to pay for it. but we voted on it, and it's put this county in bad, bad need. I just wanna make sure that it's not gonna be something like that again.
How I can compare, I will do my best. Comparing heating and cooling the trailer house to an energy efficient.
It doesn't really
New
matter
building.
about the facility, it matters how much is it gonna cost to operate, whether or not we can afford it.
That does factor into how you operate.
Yeah, but you're looking at a small percentage of the square footage now that you have versus what you're gonna have. So you just need facts. Every energy company, every utility company can give you a cost estimate of how much it's gonna cost. Your architect should be able to do that to you.
All right, we'll take care of that. I feel comfortable that we can operate this building. And, yeah, this is my, starting my 6th year as a superintendent. The first school that I went to was not as financially stable as Stigler. And we operated, it was break even, but we operated and we added programs and we did things to help kids. And the travel time that we have to use before our custodians and everything going from building to building could eliminate 3 or 4 hours a day. Just a travel time going to here to get this and that, and we don't have storage. And they're just, we'll be more efficient, but I'll get you those numbers.
Just safe. Just play it safe.
I am too. If I didn't want to play it safe, we could have probably had numbers that looked a lot better. But if we're going to do this, it is my pledge through everyone that I've talked to make certain that the taxpayers and the voters of Stigler School District get what they voted on.
Of the other schools that have built new facilities, have they experienced an increase in operational costs?
I cannot answer that.
That'd be just
Typically newer and more energy efficient typically means that it's less expensive, less maintenance, and less custodial is needed. But
yeah,
we're not to. I will do more research on that.
There's the new gym at Clinton, you showed it on your video. It's created a hardship in that school, just to operate it. And as I'm asking a simple civil question.
I'm going to get those. To the best of my ability, I will get those numbers for you.
And when you, if you would, when you have your financial advisor meet us, plan on it being a healthy meeting, a lot of people. Just brace for it. Let him know that there's going to be several questions asked.
Okay, we're going to conclude our chamber meeting. I do want to recognize someone that came in after.
I do have some cards if someone would like to take these and look at one of them. They've got some information on the back. I paid for them personally. They're not school property or anything like that. So they're here for you if you would like them.
I'd like to introduce a new insurance agent that is not a new insurance agency, but a new insurance agent that is in our town. I invited him to the meeting today, and he snuck in the back door, and that's Chad Cox. Chad, if you would stand up. Trying to introduce and taking over the shelter insurance agency, so we're glad to have him here. We do want to remind you that the deadline is tomorrow. If you're not registered to vote, please be sure that you're registered to vote. I passed out our community calendar. There are 2 events that were called in yesterday after I had printed that calendar off, and you can note those. Debbie Williams, do you have something to say about the R&B Groove night?
Yes, you may have, does everybody have
brochure at the desk? Okay, it's gonna be September the 23rd.